Hello everybody, welcome to this episode. It's the third episode in this series on the owl, and today's episode we're going to be doing the last cross edge. So we've done our first 3 cross edges, we've done all of our centers now, and now we just need to do the last cross edge before we move on to the last 8 edges. Today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter than the other ones, just because there's not as much with the last cross edge. But I still felt that it warranted its own video because there's lots of techniques that you can use, and it can also be a very tricky step if you don't do it right. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and yeah, let's start. So the first piece of advice I wanted to give you today is in regards to what position you do your last cross edge in. So on 4x4, a lot of people would keep it on the side and then would make their last cross edge and insert it with the cross on the left. But for bigger cubes, this becomes a little bit less practical. So pretty much in all cases for both 5x5, 6x6 and 7x7, I want all of you guys to be making your last cross edge on the bottom like this. This is how we're going to hold the cube. Now, there are 2 very useful algorithms that I'm going to show you, and pretty much you are going to be using these in the vast majority of cases when doing your last or doing your last cross edge, at least if you do it after centers. So I've set these 2 cases up now. So you're doing your last cross edge, you have it in, instead of taking this out, realigning the centers and then inserting it, there's an alg that will put this last cross edge into here without messing your centers up, and it's the same for the opposite way as well. So you're doing your last cross edge, you've made it, and you can see these are just from different angles. So this is going to be from like the right, and we're going to hold this one in the front. So I'll show you the alg for this one now. The algorithm is F or F prime or prime, and that puts that last cross edge in, but it also keeps your centers completely fine as well. So that's useful because you don't have to realign your centers after every single time you form your last cross edge. And this becomes especially useful on 6x6 and 7x7, where the chances of you having misaligned centers are much higher. I'll show you the alg for the other case now. So the other direction, what you do, instead of holding it in the left, we're going to hold it in like the last cross edge piece has got to be in the front. And to solve this one, it's or prime, F prime, or F, and that puts that last cross edge in without messing up your centers. So we use the same algorithm on 6x6 and 7x7. So I'll show you now. I haven't set this up. I'll just do an example. So we'll form our last cross edge like this. Okay, so we're going to be keeping this one in the front, and the algorithm we'll use for this case is or prime, F prime, or F. And then that puts that in, and like I said, I don't have to realign my centers, which is very useful for 6x6. Now for 7x7, I'll form my last cross edge. Okay, perfect. So we're going to have to put this one into here. So this is using the first algorithm that I showed you, where we keep it on the right and it goes F or F prime or prime. And like I said, that puts it into the cross there, and we don't have to realign my centers, which on 7x7, like 6x6, is very useful. So now that you know the actual algorithms to put the last cross edge into the cross, we can look at more closely what those algorithms actually do. And I'll start off with the one where we're putting it on the right. You can see obviously this set of edges here gets replaced by this here, this blue and white. But what replaces this blue and white here, in this case, is going to be these 3 edges here. And what you can do is you can use this to your advantage to actually transition into your middle 4 edges. So a way I would do this is, you know that basically if I were to insert this now and use the alg, this piece will be here, and then this piece here will be here. but you can see what I have here is, say, my green and red middle edge. So what I want to do is maybe I can find a green and red wing in the top layer, and I can bring this across to this front one here. So when I actually execute this last cross edge, I can go straight into my edges. Now I've set this up, but it's just an example. So here, for example, I'll bring these two green and red wings across, and then what I could do is I could use my insert alg like this, and then that's put these two green and red wings into the middle there, so I can transition straight into my edges, and that just helps the solve flow a little bit better. The same for the opposite alg, where the missing cross piece is in the front. When you do the algorithm now, it puts this set of edges into where the cross edge was before you done the algorithm. So same concept, you can use this to your advantage. Here, for example, I have a blue and red wing right here, and I have a blue and red midge right here. So I'm going to bring this across to this slot here. So now that when I actually perform this alg to put this cross piece in, you can see it's aligned this blue-red wing with the midge perfectly, and then I can just go straight into my edges. So that trick is a little bit more advanced, but if you feel, once you start practicing with the algorithms that I just showed you, you'll become more comfortable with them, and then maybe once you're comfortable with them, maybe you can try and start implementing that technique as well, which will help you transition into your edges. So by far the most requested case to cover was when you're doing your last cross edge, you know, you have your centers misaligned and one of your cross pieces is already in the bottom layer. And this gets particularly tricky in 6x6 and 7x7, because the higher order the puzzle, the more likely it is that you will have one of your cross pieces already in the D layer. There are a number of ways to deal with this case. I won't sugarcoat it for you, they are all very tricky, and this is a very awkward situation to find yourself in. No matter what you do, pretty much, if one of your cross edges is already in the D layer and your centers are misaligned, you're probably going to have a little bit of a slower part of your solve no matter what, because there are a couple of ways to deal with this. The first way would be to basically use one of the unsolved edges in the middle layer to replace it with the bottom cross edge, so that you can kick the cross edge out. This is the same alg that you'd use if you had a solved cross edge piece that you're trying to put in the cross. So let's just say we do F or F prime or prime. That puts those sets of three edges in, and it also kicks that one out. So now you can go about finishing your cross edge, and then you can just insert it like normally. That's one way of doing it anyway. The way I would not recommend is realigning your centers and then kicking it out somehow. I just wouldn't recommend that. That takes too much time. There are better options. Another thing that you could do is basically just a different alg. It's just, say you have these two in the bottom layer, you need to kick them out. Make sure, put it on the right here, and make sure this edge here hasn't got any cross edges in, and do or2 u prime or2. So just replace this set of edges here with this one, and without messing up your centers. So or2 u prime or2, and then that will kick that cross edge out, and then you can finish making your cross edge. There is one trick that you could do, and this involves the second algorithm that I just showed you with the or2 u prime or2. Basically it cancels it into this. So say we have three cross edges solved here, and we're trying to kick out this one right here. What we could do is, we obviously don't want this here because we don't want this going into the bottom there. So we'll replace it with a cross, or with edges that have no cross edges in it. But what we could do in a case like this is or2 u prime or prime u or prime, and then that will put that edge into the middle layer and solve it like this. That's a bit more advanced. My personal recommendation is just do either one of the algorithms that I showed you to replace the cross edge and kick the edges out of the bottom layer, or do or2 u prime or2 or some variation of that. So yeah, I'm afraid there's just no real way around it. It's just those are probably the best options you have when you're faced with something like that. So I've scrambled the cubes up now, and I'm just going to show you maybe 2 example solves or example last cross edges on each 5, 6 and 7. But I'm just going to start from the start of the solve just so I have no control over what cases I get. So we'll start with 5 by 5. Alright, what I do in this case is I'll rotate it like this, and I have my cross edges here, here and here. And the way I would do this is I would execute it like or2 u prime or, and then I would slice across like this to pair the edge up, and then I would use the or prime f prime or f alg to insert it into the cross. Okay, second go. Okay, alright, so I have these two obviously next to each other, but they're not oriented correctly, and the last one is here. So I would put these two into the middle layer like this, and then I would bring this into the middle layer as well, and then I'd do slice, flip, slice back, and then I don't even need to do the alg this time because my centers are already realigned, so just or prime. So I'll do 2 on 6 by 6 now. Alright, so I'd first start with this white and orange here, and I'll pair it up with this. So this will go into the middle there, and then I'll slice it across. And then I have the other 2 here, so what I could actually do is or prime u or, and that puts them both into the middle there, and then I can slice across like this to pair the edge up, and then f or f prime or prime to finish the cross. Right, solve 2 for 6 by 6. Alright, let's see, so I have this green, or I have this white and orange already done, and I'm going to pair it up with this image here. So I'll put this one into the middle there, and then I'll U2 it, and then I'll hold it like this, and to put this one into here, I'm going to do or prime, u prime or, and that puts it into the middle there in the back, and then I can slice across and do f or f prime or prime. So solve 1 for 7 by 7. Alright, so first thing I do is I have a cross edge here, and so I don't want this in the bottom there, so I'm going to do U, and then I'm going to rotate. I'm going to pair these 2 up like this, and then you can see I have another one here, so I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to pair it up like this, and then my final 2 are right here, so I can just put these into the middle layer, pair up the cross edge, and then do f or f prime or prime. Okay, last one for today. Alright, so we have no cross edges in the bottom, which is good. You can see we have these 2 here and one here, so I'm going to flip this and pair it up with these 2 like this, and the remaining 2 are in the top layer, one's here, so I just need to sledge that in and bring it across, and then I can just bring this last one across, insert it in, pair it up, and then this one is f or f prime or prime. But I think that is going to be it for today. The next episode will be the last 4 edges. I will not be doing a video on the middle 4 edges because that is basically just free slice. So hopefully I can try and get that last video out soon enough. And also in the meantime, YJ was kind enough to send me this, the MGC 7x7, which I used in the video today. And also keep your eyes open for a review on that in the next couple of days as well. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.